Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, well, it's to take the stack of global sources, everything from extreme weather to conflicts, social policy, and really try to pull out the core knowledge, give you some context, some clarity.
And there's just so much coming at us, isn't there? It feels
Mhm.
faster, more urgent.
Yeah.
The key thing today, I think, is connecting these dots, seeing how these apparently separate events actually link up.
Yeah, exactly. The sources we've got today really underline that. We're tracking, let's see, four big flashpoints, a massive super typhoon heading for the
A
Philippines.
really dangerous one.
Then there's a terrible humanitarian crisis at sea near Malaysia.
Our breaking story, that one.
Plus, targeted strikes in the Russia-Ukraine war hitting infrastructure again.
The energy war continues.
And finally, something maybe a bit quieter, but wow, really significant, a social inquiry in the UK about young people, mental health, and jobs.
Yeah, big long-term implications there.
So, quite a range. Let's dive in and see what we can unpack. We really have to start with the Philippines. The sheer scale of this immediate threat. Super Typhoon Fenghuang, they call it Uwan locally. And it's officially the biggest storm threatening the islands this year.
It really is. And the stats are, frankly, frightening. It ramped up to a super typhoon early Sunday. We're talking sustained winds of 185 kilometers per hour.
That's about 115 miles per hour.
Right. And gusts hitting 230 kph. So what's that, 140-something lom?
Yeah.
But it's the size.
Yeah, the size is hard to grasp.
It's 1,600 kilometers wide, 1,600.
Wow. Just
So
put that in perspective for people. That's wide enough to stretch from, like, London almost all the way to Rome.
Exactly. The sources say it could cover maybe two-thirds of the entire Philippine archipelago. Just enormous.
And that scale means, well, huge disruption already.
Absolutely. They've already evacuated nearly 1 million people, over 900,000. Think about that. Moving almost 1 million people from high-risk areas, eastern, central, northern provinces.
That's an incredible logistical challenge.
It really is. And you have to remember, this isn't happening in a vacuum,
No, exactly. The country's still, reeling from Typhoon Kalmaigi just last week.
which was devastating.
Yeah.
Left at least 224 people dead in the central provinces.
Yeah.
Floods, landslides.
So cruel. And Cebu province, which got hit hard by Kalmaigi, is apparently right in the potential path of this new one, Fenghuang.
It is. It's one of the areas at risk. The Defense Secretary, Teodoro, he warned it could be, quote, catastrophic.
Yeah.
He's urging people to get out before the rain even starts.
And the warnings are specific, aren't they, about the coastlines?
Very specific. They're talking about a high risk of life-threatening and damaging storm surge, over 3 meters.
That's nearly 10 feet.
10 feet of water along the coasts of more than 20 provinces. And that includes Metro Manila.
A huge population center.
Massive,
Right.
which is why they've canceled, over 325 domestic flights, 60-something international, and stopped ships using over 100 seaports.
The potential exposure numbers are just sobering.
The Office of Civil Defense estimates over 30 million people could be exposed to risks from this single storm. 30 million.
And you see climate scientists quoted saying these extreme events are becoming more frequent, more intense as the planet warms. It fits the pattern.
Sadly, it does. It's the reality we're facing.
Okay, so from that natural disaster, let's shift focus. We're moving to a human tragedy, a maritime crisis near the Malaysia-Thailand border.
Yeah, it's just awful. Hundreds of undocumented migrants are missing. One of 3 boats they were on capsized near Taruto Island. That's just north of Langkawi.
So 3 boats involved initially.
Right. Sources say around 300 migrants started the journey on one large vessel from Buthodong in Myanmar.
Okay.
Then, near the Malaysian coast, they were told to transfer to 3 smaller boats. About 100 people per boat. One of those sank.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That boat had about 90 people on it. So far, reports say 1 death confirmed a Rohingya woman and only 10 people rescued.
Only 10 out of 90?
10. Which means maybe 80 missing just from that one boat. And the other 2 boats, with around 200 people, they're still unaccounted for. Feared missing as well.
This tactic of switching boats is deliberate, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's a common tactic used by the smuggling or trafficking syndicates. They move people to smaller, often less seaworthy boats closer to shore, precisely to try and evade maritime authorities. Makes them harder to spot.
But dramatically increases the danger.
Hugely increases the danger, transferring people in open water, often at night, onto overcrowded, rickety boats. It's incredibly risky.
And who are these people making such a desperate journey?
Well, the survivors identified so far include men from Myanmar, Rohingya men and one Bangladeshi man. Many are likely Rohingya Muslims.
Fleeing persecution in Myanmar.
Exactly. Fleeing persecution there or trying to escape the really difficult, overcrowded conditions in refugee camps in Bangladesh. They undertake these incredibly hazardous sea crossings, often paying traffickers everything they have, hoping to reach Muslim-majority countries like Malaysia or Indonesia.
It's just a cycle of desperation meeting criminal exploitation.
That's precisely it. And when international protection fails, you see these tragedies unfold at sea.
Okay, let's pivot again from human and natural crises to ongoing conflict. The sources show the Russia-Ukraine war is still heavily focused on infrastructure.
That's right. It's a constant feature, this targeting of essential services. Recently, we saw Ukrainian strikes hitting deep, relatively speaking, disrupting power and heat in two big Russian cities near the border.
These weren't small towns. Voronezh, that's over 1 million people.
They had temporary blackouts, heating cuts after a drone strike hit a utility facility, caused a fire.
And Belgorod, too, population around 340,000.
Yeah, Belgorod saw a missile strike. Reports say serious damage to power and heating systems affected something like 20,000 households.
So it's this strategic tit-for-tat, Ukraine hitting Russian energy infrastructure, maybe trying to impact oil revenue.
Right, hitting refineries has been a key Ukrainian strategy trying to cut off Moscow's funding for the war.
And Russia hitting the Ukrainian power grid.
Exactly. Trying to weaponize winter, as it's often called. Deny heat, light, water to civilians, hoping to create pressure, break morale. Both sides see these utilities as legitimate, as targets in the conflict.
And what's interesting is how this localized targeting seems to ripple outwards, affecting wider European security.
Oh yeah, there's this interesting detail in the sources about heightened alert across Europe. We've seen the UK's RAF, their Typhoon jets, actually helping patrol Belgian airspace.
Really?
Yeah, and also reinforcing NATO's eastern flank, places like Poland. This follows a spate of recent drone sightings and incursions over northern Europe. Sweden, Norway, Denmark have all reported incidents.
And the finger points towards Russia, even if they deny it.
The suspicion is definitely high. The Kremlin denies involvement, naturally. But these aren't isolated incidents. There have been previous airspace violations with fighter jets, larger drones in Eastern Europe.
And there might be a connection to finances.
Possibly. Sources suggest this recent uptick in activity, these probes across NATO borders, might be linked to the ongoing discussions in the EU about using frozen Russian assets. Specifically, there's talk of a 140 billion loan package for Ukraine backed by those assets.
So military pressure as a kind of shadow response to economic moves.
It could be part of that playbook, yes. A way of signaling displeasure, creating tension without direct confrontation.
That kind of underlying structural tension, it actually provides a neat link to our final topic. A different kind of crisis, maybe quieter, unfolding in the UK. This big inquiry into young people who aren't in education, employment, or training the NEETs category, essentially.
Yeah, but this inquiry seems focused on a specific subset. Young people who are out of the workforce due primarily to health reasons, and the numbers are pretty stark.
What's the key statistic here?
The number of young people claiming the health-related element of universal credit, that's the UK's main welfare system, has jumped by over 50% in just the last 5 years.
50%, that's a huge increase.
Yeah.
And universal credit, health, and employment support allowance. Just to clarify, this isn't just short-term unemployment.
No, exactly. This is for people with longer-term conditions that affect their ability to work. So a 50% rise there suggests a really significant increase in young people facing chronic barriers to employment. It's basically measuring lost potential, lost productivity.
And the reason cited for this massive jump, it's overwhelming, isn't it?
It really is. An incredible 80% of the young people on this specific health-related benefit cite mental health reasons or a neurodevelopmental condition. 80%.
Wow.
That's the core finding, really. This isn't just a health issue anymore or even just a social issue. It's clearly become a major structural challenge for the UK labor market.
It reframes it completely, doesn't it? From a soft cost to a hard economic problem. So what's the policy debate around that 80% figure? Are they questioning the diagnoses?
It's more about the link between diagnosis and benefits. It's a sensitive area. One policy leader quoted basically said, they don't think there should be an automatic link between getting a diagnosis and getting these benefits indefinitely.
Okay.
The emphasis seems to be on finding the best policy response, acknowledging the higher numbers, but questioning if the current system is the right way to support people back towards employment, rather than perhaps inadvertently keeping them out of it.
It sounds like the stakes are seen as incredibly high.
They are. One official explicitly said they can't just stand by and let a generation of young people be consigned to a life without employment or prospects.
That's strong language.
Very. They talk about the prize being, transforming these lives, but also firing up the economy by unlocking all this pent-up potential. This inquiry is basically saying, look, if we don't figure this out, we're facing a kind of social recession, a huge loss of human capital.
It's really striking looking back over this deep dive. We've gone from the sheer force of nature with Feng Wang to the breakdown of human systems with the migrant crisis, the calculated destruction in the Ukraine war, and now this deep societal shift in the UK around youth, mental health, and work.
The common thread seems to be this acceleration, this convergence of different kinds of risk hitting all at once.
Yeah, and that brings us back maybe to the start, to the Philippines, and this idea of warnings.
Exactly. We talked about the defense secretary there giving this incredibly urgent life or death warning to 30 million people. Get out now. A very clear operational warning based on meteorological forecasts.
And you contrast that, there was another detail in the sources, tragically, from Spain's Canary Islands, a tidal surge there.
Right. Authorities had warned people, told them explicitly not to walk near the coast, not to take photos of the rough seas because it was dangerous.
People still did.
People still did. And 3 people were killed, 15 injured when strong waves just pulled them into the ocean, despite the warnings.
It underlines that sometimes the greatest danger isn't the unknown threat, is it? It's the known threat that's ignored.
Precisely. The unheeded warning. Whether it's the forecast of a 10-foot storm surge, or the political warnings about dangerous trafficking routes, or maybe these policy warnings about a lost generation if mental health isn't addressed properly. Often, the information, the warning, is already there.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, to mull over is this. When we see these crises converging back-to-back typhoons, infrastructure wars, social recessions, and the warnings are being shouted, what kind of structures, globally or locally, do we actually need to make sure those warnings are not just heard, but acted upon effectively, especially by those most vulnerable? Something to think about.